Hey, welcome back to SeerNova Comics Podcast. This is episode 6, and we've brought back 7? It's 7. No, I thought 6 we didn't do yet. Isn't this 6? I thought he was 5. All right,
We'll figure it out.
So this is SeerNova Comics Podcast, episode 7 or 6. And this time we've brought Hector of New Leaf Comics back since last time he was covered by a box.
No face. Couldn't see me. John Cena.
Yeah. So now we have our new system set up so we can actually see each other. So, welcome back, Hector. Hope everything's been good since the last time.
Everything has been great. Tracking along nicely. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to get guests, but waiting for someone to comment, I didn't want to wait. So because the last episode, I had to actually try begging someone to try to come on. So I'll just ask him because he wants to come back anyway.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be a regular if you guys need it, just to fill some space in between getting different guests and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always up to talk about some cool stuff.
Yeah, you'll be like our MMA fighters for the Joe Rogan experience.
Exactly.
Coming on all the time when there's no guest in town.
Cool. Default guest.
Yeah. They call me Default Hector.
Exactly. That's my new nickname around the office now. Apparently in New Zealand, fun story. My nickname around their office in New Zealand is Hectron, because apparently I'm like a boss. I'm like a boss battle. I don't know. That's
awesome.
They thought it was cool. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm a Decepticon, but okay.
That's funny. I was thinking Autobots roll out.
All right. So what's on the docket today, fellas?
Well, last time we were kind of talking about you doing game development stuff, so we could get into that.
But right before that, just so for a quick reminder for anyone who wasn't here or who was here the first time, and for those who this is the first time seeing you, just a quick who you are, what you do.
Right, I can be quite forgettable, so I understand. No, I'm the lead art director and co-founder of New Leaf Comics, New Leaf Studios, soon to be. So I'm still getting used to the change there. Do pretty much everything for our social media, all the artwork for our comics, for our games, for everything. All the pieces of artwork you've seen up until now, I've done that. I'm a freelancer and I work with a company in New Zealand called Maui Studios, and that's pretty much it.
Nice.
So like I said about games, actually some guy that I used to go to school with, he randomly messaged me the other day to work on his game, which is very weird. Yeah, out of nowhere. I barely talked to him since high school, and he's like, oh, I want to make this sci-fi game. I'm like, so Halo? He's like, no, way better. I was like, oh, okay.
Don't worry, he's really realistic. He's like, hey, I've got
He's we were talking about that last time, right? Having these kind of ideas of grandeur. You got to kind of take one step at a time, right?
Is it a bag, the big, hairy, audacious goals?
So he's like, yeah, I know that you do a lot of writing and you have your old comic thing. I was like, yeah, I'm still going to be focused more on the comic thing, but I'll help you and stuff. So yeah, I guess that's going to happen soon. So that's pretty cool.
Sweet, man.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking, since you were bringing that up last time about making games, I actually would like to probably put indie games on our website too. So
Newgrounds.
Yeah.
Name off. Right. You have to look that up.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We would definitely love to put our games plural on your site. So I think that'd be a great platform to just have the games out there and stuff like that. In terms of game design, it's kind of a new thing for us. We just started stepping into that realm. We actually just published our first game, so it's actually published already. We're just working on the last little bit because once you do something the first time, you kind of learn how not to do things. We kind of saved something that we should have done earlier for like the last thing. So we're just kind of waiting on that. And then we're going to do a full on kind of like marketing push and stuff like that. So you'll be seeing different ads from us about the game and stuff like that. And we're actually going to do a whole like mailing list kind of thing just to get people to look at the game and stuff like that, and got some marketing strategies for getting it into people like all across the world on Google Play and stuff like that. So, just learning the ins and outs of that. It's a little bit different than like, the marketing we've been doing for our comics and things like that. So it's just a little different, pretty much along the same lines. But as soon as we get this video done, it should be done by the end of this week. We'll be pushing it out there, and we'll be a lot more visible with that. So, but yeah, it's on the Google Play Store right now. If you guys do want to check it out and download it, it's a very simple game. Like I said, it's our first game. It's a basketball shooting game. It's called Lejean Brames Basketball Challenge. And I know that Greg's laughing because he gets the joke, and that's epic. I was like, I was talking to Chris this morning. I was like, I'm glad that I'm talking to Greg about this because he's probably going to get it.
The office.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We'll put the links in the description for that after the episode.
Sick. And like I said, it's our first, kind of foray into this, but I think we did a pretty good job for our first go. And we have our second and third game already in development. So our second game should be out before the end of the new year. And then probably right at the beginning, like right in the new year, we're going to have a third game coming out. Our developer, Chris, he's the co-founder of New Leaf as well. He kind of just, he does writing for us. And then he also helps with the business stuff like marketing and financials and stuff like that. So he kind of took a new direction, and he's been getting into programming, game development, stuff like that. And he's just like a juggernaut, man. He's like every week he's working on stuff, 40 hours a week. He's, jumping into game development and stuff. So he's taking it like a full-time job. And what's funny is you were talking about that. The last podcast that I was watching was the Milky comic that was on Kickstarter or about to be on Kickstarter. By the way, that was a great podcast.
71 hours left.
Yeah. I think they've already met their second stretch goal.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super happy for you guys. And I can't wait to get my stuff in the mail. I want my stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my girlfriend was one of the last ones back to get us to the goal yesterday.
Yeah.
In a hoodie, and she's like, hoodie. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting like to be one of the last ones to like get you guys over that hump and stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna back them. I just want to wait a little longer to do so, like, so I can be one of the ones that's like, yeah, I put you guys over.
Yeah, Dylan of Creepy Trees did that too. He was like one of the last ones, so that's pretty cool. That like all of like the founders of like our platform.
We got your back, guys. Don't worry. We came in a little late, but we got your back.
Nice. Yeah,
No, that's
kind
great,
of like the Avengers, like they're all dying, and then it's like here comes the people over the mountain, over the hilltop. The Eagles coming in, like in
You can be sure we'll avenge this Kickstarter. But yeah, so we're actually going to be acquiring your guys' help. And there's no choice in the matter. I'm sorry, we're enlisting you guys to help us with our Kickstarter. We want to do it first thing New Year, so January is our date for launching this Kickstarter.
Nice.
So yeah, for your
is it going to be the 1st of January, or is it going to be like a little after that?
we can talk about it. We haven't had like a hard date that we wanted to put on it, but just starting the new year off with it. And it's going to be about Your Young Goose. We're finishing, I should be finished with the first issue at the end of this month. So it'll be basically to help promote the first issue and then fund the second issue. And then you'll have, like you guys are doing, first issue of your book will be part of the reward tiers. And then you'll get some inside look at the creation process of issue 2, because I'm already like probably 9 to 10 pages in there already. So
Nice.
we have a lot of progress videos and things like that. So yeah, it should be pretty cool starting this new year.
I had money for that. Well, we could still raise it though. That just gave me an idea for like a stretch goal.
What?
Like concept art for like the second issue. Seer Chronicles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I couldn't go to sleep like last night.
You're welcome, guys.
That's what I'm here for.
We either do that, or we can do the SpaceX idea that you talked
There you go, man. I'm telling you, space probe. Let's get this done.
Yeah, then the seer will be the seer. It'll be
Exactly. He'll be orbiting the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the first stretch goal that we're doing is Ink, which is our first solo series, and I really wanted to release that this year, so I'm really hoping that we get to that.
Yeah, I would love to see that. And you guys have an artist for that too, right?
What?
You guys have an artist already for Ink, and you guys
So
are
yeah,
like,
it's already sketched, and actually, I was just looking at it today because even I hadn't seen it yet, and yeah, it does look pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah,
we're gonna have to ask him to do a little fix for a couple things, but besides that,
yeah,
I think I have to pay a little for him to fix it after the fact, but that's fine.
yeah, you got to do that sometimes. You got to, you know.
yeah. But then we still need to get it. What is it? Colored and lettered, and then printed, and then we'll be all set. So that's what the stretch goals for, is to get those last couple hurdles.
Well, let me know. I have a team that's in need of some portfolio work. So if you guys need that coloring done for the cheap, we got you.
That's true.
Just an idea. Just an idea. Just throwing that out there. No, yeah, that's great. So you guys are hoping to do that as your stretch goal, to fund that?
Yep. Yeah, that's what we have set up as the first stretch goal. Yeah.
Sick.
So if we get to 1,800, then that will definitely do it. But if we don't get directly that amount of money,
yeah, we're gonna still probably fund a good chunk of it, but it just like that'll guarantee that we get it done by the end of the year instead of having to work towards it after the fact. Because we get that right up front, then that's going right towards it.
Sick. I was gonna ask. I forget now. Forget it. Forget it.
You're gonna ask why we don't have all our Pop Funkos right here,
Yeah, man, get on it. Come on. I have a little display wall back here.
I know. That's what I gotta get, because I already got the book, so I can reference those. I just need to get little Pop Funkos along the path.
I don't know if they make these yet, but maybe they should make a little Gary V one, because that would be like the first one.
I bet. Yeah, I know. I bet they do. I bet someone made it.
Yeah, get like somebody just did it because they wanted to and just like hand painted it. You got to buy that like. There you go.
The shoe.
The V flights, is that what they're called?
No, these are they're K-Swiss. Those are the dark clouds, and then I have the other ones, which are the clouds and dirt, and then I have the other ones someplace, which are these are the what is it, the 25th, what is it, I think it's the 25th anniversary of Shoe Palace. Yeah, it says Shoe Palace on the thing. Worked with K-Swiss, and then obviously Gary across that. Yeah, I freaking love these. It's like antique green. I forgot the name of the red, and then like an antique white. Love these things though. It's so funny too, because like I was like, oh, I shouldn't buy them, and then I ended up buying them, and then my dad bought them as a gift, knowing I said I wasn't gonna buy them.
That's a scenario right there.
Yeah, but I lucked out though, because I never even opened my box, and so I was actually able to just go, you know what, I don't want to receive it, and I was able to send it back without having to pay for it, and I was like, yes.
Nice.
So, yeah, I like that.
Cool. So,
but so we got more questions though. Now that we've tangented completely off. What's this one? What's that we talking about? Oh, that's not. Last time you mentioned games, the map. Oh, the map. Was that for you or for us? Wait, what is that? What?
That's what I was actually going to ask you guys. That's what I wanted to ask, and I forgot. When was that part of, or was that something you guys were still working on, like to either get funded on its own or like to be a stretch goal? Because I was super excited about that.
Yeah, that'll probably end up being its own crowd. So we've been trying to like test crowdfunding this entire time essentially, and now that we've worked it out where it's actually working, that eventually I'd love to get that one crowdfunded as well, because we've got a good chunk of it. made, but yeah, we still have to pay the guy.
Right.
And then after that, we there's two things that we have to be worried about. One is server space, so whether or not we host it or we get it hosted someplace else. I would prefer to host it, but that would cost more again. Yeah. There was something that he was going to help set us up so that we wouldn't have to host it. But in the future, definitely.
If you're looking to host games too, that might be, you know, kind of like killing two birds with one stone, getting some more server space, and then you can have like games that save, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's kind of the deal where it's like we're gonna want it. Like we're definitely going to want our own servers at one point, or at some point. But until that moment, we're trying to figure out is it. Because once we get if we get enough subscribers to it, that alone will help pay for the servers. But if we don't know that we're going to get that amount of people up front, paying for the servers up front would be very costly. So it's like we gotta like figure out how to walk that line to make sure we can get there cleanly.
Yeah, we were looking at the same thing too when we were, you know, approaching games and like how we're going to do it, you know, like, so we just, right now it's just strictly apps because we don't have to host it. So like you said, it's just a little costly to do that up front if you don't know kind of like what your customer base is going to be, how popular your games are and stuff like that. It's, you know, obviously something down the road, you start investing into your product, and that'll be one of the things that we invest in as well.
Yeah, well, we'll let you know if we get server space first, and then you know then we can do it where we're like we rent out part of it as opposed to you know, people having to get their entire own servers, which that would be nice because we could help other indie game developers who can't afford to, you know, buy you know, their own servers. So.
Well, make sure you like you said you were gonna try and cookie cutter the map thing too. So we're interested in having a map of our own on our website. So yeah, if you guys can do that, we're definitely interested as well. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I would like to figure out an actual name for the map though, because.
What do you mean, like the game itself?
Yeah, like the name. Like I guess you just call it
SNC map.
Yeah. But he's like, man, everybody's coming together. It's like, oh shit. It's like,
you know what you could do is maybe you could title like the entire idea as like the playable universe, right? And then you just have whoever cookie cutters it has their own section of that playable universe. But you just title the entire idea, you know, the playable universe.
I didn't even think about that. We could even have that where like there's one login portal, but like they could enter our universe or enter someone else's universe.
See, this for the viewers at home. Every time that we have a conversation like this, like it ends up mushrooming into like these ridiculous ideas. So this is pretty normal for us.
Yeah. But oh yeah, well, we were talking about the crowdfunding. Yeah, because he's got another bullet point on here. One of the things that so I'm to reference books again.
Getting it
I know. It's like,
oh, that's where it was. Yep. I'm literally trying to look.
All right. So this is called the $100 Startup. It's by Chris Guillebeau. For any viewers and yourself, I highly recommend checking him out. He's got I think he's written like 4 or 5 books. The 2 books that I have are this one.
Yeah, I remember.
One. Yeah, and so the 2 of these books are great ways to just learn how to make money, essentially. So if you're looking to, you know, fund any, you know, side project, some passion project, and you don't want to just be taking away from your funds from like, you know, whatever your primary job is, those are great ways to create a little side hustle that brings incoming money. Then you can spend that money on passion projects. And then hopefully eventually you can then turn your passion project into the side hustle itself. And then ultimately in the future, you get the choice of turning that into your full-time career as opposed to whatever you're working on. But in that $100 Startup, it talks about when you're launching a business or launching a product, there's this like 39-step process for launching. And if you go onto the guy's website, there's like an actual like, you know, checklist of like, do this, do this, do this. So I read that forever ago when Greg wanted to crowdfund the first time. I was like, you should follow this. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he didn't. So then the second time I was like, Greg, you should really follow it this time. It's like, yeah, but I really want to get this done. I'm like, yes, but you should plan it this number of days in advance according to this so that you know you can do this. And he's like, next time, right? So then this time he did it, and within a week, I think it was 7 days, we had our entire thing funded. And so clearly that process is a very good way to launch a product and even a Kickstarter, because it doesn't tell you how to do it for Kickstarter. It tells you how to launch a product. But I told them, like, if you follow the general guidelines, then it should be powerful enough to work for this as well. So I then told them, just because now we can create more content, I was like, what you should do is take that 39-step process and make it easier for comic creators to go through. And so we actually wrote a blog. Well, he wrote the blog, I didn't write shit. So, yeah, he wrote a blog, and he was able to shrink it down because some of the stuff is not relevant for things that aren't a physical product or a business. And it was the 21-step checklist of actually how to launch your own Kickstarter for indie comics, indie games, stuff like that. And so like as we're testing this stuff, we're hopefully going to be able to bring this to the indie community so that everyone will have access to it. Because like right in the beginning of the article, it's like, if you don't have followers, stop reading the article. Right? Like
yeah. I had a different thing for the first in bold.
I couldn't hear you on that last one. I think you need to move a little closer to the mic. Maybe.
So
I can hear you fine, Dylan.
So the first step was it's in bold, and it's, if you don't have a following, get a following first.
Right.
Because if you don't have a following, don't do this. So that's basically the first step. But the original first step is something else that I had, and I was like, I don't know, this is like the most important step.
Yeah.
Do this. Because there are some people that are now messaging me that I either message on Instagram or whatever, our link for our Kickstarter, and they're asking me questions. They're like, oh shit, you're like this far? I was like, yeah, I'm like just super amazing. But
yeah, we've done it like 600 times.
I'm like, yeah, we just failed like 3 times, but it's fine.
Failing upwards, man.
So there's actually creators on our website, Covenant Comics, and they do Crossbones, the comic Crossbones, and he's releasing his Kickstarter October 1st, and he actually sent me the preview link to like see his Kickstarter, and it actually looks like really good. He has like an awesome video and everything, but he doesn't know about the checklist yet, but he basically did everything that's on there, so that's pretty cool. So his goal is $1,000, and he's just got that stress that like everybody that runs the Kickstarter has. He's like, well, I'm just worried like I'm not gonna get people to like come there. I'm like, well, do you have a following? He's like, well, yeah. I was like, then that should be okay. And then I was saying yesterday, and then that made him more worried, was people could back out last minute, because that has happened to some people that I know on like Facebook. There's like this Caleb guy that made a Nook, and which is awesome. And there was a couple people backing out, so he was like getting worried, but then new people came to like back it last minute. So, but that does happen. Like people have personal issues that can't pay for it or something.
Right, and because it's not like an instant purchase. Like when you like back the project, it's going to take until it gets funded to like actually like process it,
Yeah.
So sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I'll put down $50, and then they end up not having that $50 when the processing goes and stuff. So yeah, it can be kind of weird, because the first time I've ever backed a project, it was kind of like that. I was like, and it was back when Kickstarter didn't do the like it was kind of like Indiegogo, where it can run as long as possible. So I was just like sitting there waiting, and like I was looking at my account, and I was like, wait, didn't I back this project for like, I put like $75 down because it was like a board game. And by the way, I still haven't received it. So this was like over a year and a half ago. They still give me updates, but yeah, it's been taking a really long time. Anyway, it just took so long to process it. I was like, what happened? Like, did I buy this? Did I not buy this? Do I have to wait for it to process? And then it finally did, because they got funded. So now I'm just waiting on my board game to come. I want to play it.
Yeah, you're actually not the only one that's saying that, has said that. There's this guy named Art that's on Facebook. He wants to be on the podcast too. he just said like a random post the other day, like, do you regret backing people's crowdfunding campaigns like Kickstarters? And people have said like, oh, well, I backed something like 3 years ago and I still haven't received my thing. I was like, holy shit. So definitely I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going to give you all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we go through 2 different drop shipping companies. We go through Printify for our store that's on,
Basically merchandise.
yeah. And then which we now have hoodies up there,
Sick.
and
Shameless plug.
and coffee mugs too.
Awesome.
Yeah, and even your stuff. So
Yeah, I gotta get my coffee mug so when I drink, I can hold it and like have the logo, and I'll be like,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
this is how normal people drink.
Yeah, by the way, we're gonna be putting up some new designs on your guys' store, so hopefully,
Oh, very cool.
yeah, let's do some marketing with that so we can get them sold.
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, after the Kickstarter's all over, I already said to a bunch of people that I'm going to focus more on trying to get as many people on our website as possible. That's like number one thing, like right after the Kickstarter ends. So
Yeah, because the more value we can bring on the site, the more traffic we can pull. Because like that was our goal from the beginning, was that, you know, some people are going to come and they don't want superhero comics, they don't want horror comics, they don't want action comics. Like, what's the comic that they want? And we want enough of all those genres, and if someone comes to the site, like, they can't run out of that genre.
Right.
Like,
Are we the only like comedy genre on the site right now? Are we kind of like taking over that market right now?
Isn't there one other one?
There's Righteous, which is a graphic novel, I think, and it's about, I forgot what it's about.
No, that is a graphic novel, not the novel. The one that's got no pictures.
Oh no.
Okay, all right.
We have 2 yeah, besides that there's 2 books on stories, not books, that are on there too. They're not comics, but they go through that like PDF viewer.
So you still, but it's basically a book. It's
I'm trying to get people that have books too on there, and he's like, "Well, we're not Amazon." I was like, "We're gonna be bigger."
Lofty.
No, but if people have like written stuff like a book, then you could post it on there, like just
we might actually even try to like make a separate section for that.
Yeah, because the guy that has his stories on there, he's like, well, I haven't heard anything about that yet. I was like, well, no one has viewed it yet because we haven't really marketed that section, but we are going to have our own special page for that on there, because I plan on getting a couple of people. Luke Anderson, that has the Monitor on there, which is the most viewed comic on there so far. He has a story that he wants to put on there too. So
sweet.
Yeah. So as many people that just want to put their stuff on it, they can.
Yeah, because that's definitely one of the biggest hurdles for a lot of people, is like they don't have artwork. So it's like you don't need artwork all the time.
And I mean, you can also do that later, you know, just create and put it out there. Let people, you know, kind of come and say like, hey, this could be an awesome comic. Well, yeah, it could. Let's crowdfund it. You know what I mean?
That's what we were talking with actually both Todds about the fact that it was like, you know, people need to just create it and get it out there. Like, too many people are worried. Like, it's that whole you overcome fear by just doing the thing you're afraid of. Like, just get it out there so that, you know, if someone judges it, well, now you have feedback. Like, pretend like the worst case scenario is going to happen and release it anyways. And then if anything positive happens, it's just gravy. Like, that's what it should be. Like,
you know what's funny is I think that's like the most common experience when it comes to creatives, you know, is like we all relate to that feeling of insecurity before we like let other people see our work, and then we limit ourselves to only showing it to like this certain group of people, and, you know, be gentle kind of thing. And it's like the more that you put stuff out there, the more you recognize like actually the people you don't expect to like it are the people that freaking love it. Like, you know what I mean? So just put it in the space and just keep, you know, letting people see it, you know, and don't be afraid to like you said, take some criticism about it, or to let people have an opinion about it, because it really just informs, you know, what to improve, what to change. Maybe you don't change anything at all, you know, but you can start to define who's your fan base, as opposed to, you know, speculating who's your fan base, you know?
Like, Stan Lee even had the problem with Spider-Man. So
yeah.
he's just like, yeah, well, I got this character, and like,
Yeah, if you
You
think
want-
it's genuinely good, like get it out there. Yeah.
Like-
It's like well, people hate spiders.
And
Yeah, he's a teenager with personal problems. Superheroes don't have personal problems.
No, yeah, I mean,
I left the room wiser.
and innovation is hardly ever thought innovative in the moment. It's always like people look back in hindsight and be like, wow, this was crazy innovative for its time. And it's like in the moment though, people don't really see change as something like that they want to embrace right away, you know? So you really just, again, you have to put it into the atmosphere and just really be confident in it, you know, and regardless of, you know, your talent base, I mean, and there's people to take advice from, and there's people that are going to try and tear you down. So you got to like know who to take advice from. If this person is a professional and they're saying, hey, here's some ways to improve your shit, you should probably listen, as opposed to like the jerk who's just like, this sucks. Oh man, what do you write? Like, and there's some like manager at McDonald's or something. Like, you know, don't listen to those people.
Like, you're
Listen
the
to
one I want to
people-
get that advice from.
You listen to the people who are gonna like advance you, who are gonna make you better, who have the success that you're looking to, you know, to achieve.
Well, not only that too, just getting enough stuff out there. Like well, that's actually something Gary talks about is he finds quality by creating quantity. Like he puts out so much stuff so that he can get judged faster, so he can then make his stuff better faster. Like if you just keep putting stuff out there as fast as you can, if like this one has one good thing and this has another good thing and this has another good thing, then you're like, oh, I just learned 6 things that I could put into one thing to make it better, and now you can get stuff out there quicker.
Yeah, I think the brilliant thing about Gary is he has this amazing like acuity for like insight. Like he can create something and then immediately identify like, okay, this is what needs to be improved, even I think without feedback. Like feedback just really enhances his ability to do that.
I think it's because of how long he's been doing it with feedback. He's now just intuitively, he can go, oh, you know, like, you know, he doesn't think he's doing it because it's all like subconscious, but like subconsciously, his brain's going, these were all the things I've ever heard that would go wrong with this. This is probably the way to go. And so, yeah, that's like that. I was talking with a friend of mine in Scotland about the that gut feeling, and I'm like, your gut feeling is terrible when you're a kid. Your gut feeling gets you to walk into traffic when you're a toddler, right? But the whole point is that your gut feeling is just accumulation of all the knowledge you've gained, and then responding immediately, right? Like so, it's you know your subconscious works. Actually, it's funny. I haven't read this one yet, but this monster here, right? So it's thinking fast and slow, and what it talks about is that like when you think slow, it's calculated, you know, it's your logical brain, but when you think fast, it's your subconscious brain and your intuition. And the point is that you need to accumulate a bunch of knowledge so that your fast knowledge, or the part of your brain that works fast, has something to pull from. And that's why just putting so much content out there and creating all the time, you will, as long as you're not putting it out there and not listening at all, as long as you listen a little bit, that's enough to, you know, improve yourself.
Right. And that's kind of what my point was like putting out the content is great, but you also have to like be insightful with, you know, how you respond to different things and feedback and then just, you know, looking at your collection of work, you know, at a certain point and being like, okay, this is something that I don't want to do anymore. This is something I do want to do more of.
That I don't ever want to do again. That was terrible.
Exactly. There are some clients, let me tell you, that have definitely been like, yeah, as soon as I see this red flag, I'm not working with this person ever again, you know? So there's definitely, frustration will definitely teach you a lot, just as much as success, sometimes even more. So, yeah.
Nice.
For your Kickstarter, do you like kind of know what you want to say in the Kickstarter already? Somewhat.
Yeah. I think I just we really want just people to understand like that we're here. You know, like we want the people to show people our work, our content. And then, Here is actually creating, and it's our fault, because like you said, putting out content is the name of the game, right? So we've been failing at that periodically. Like we'll put out a bunch of content and then we'll stop, and then we'll, and it's really inconsistent. That's something that we've really been challenged by, and I think, like, again, watching the Milky podcast, that was something that he kind of touched on. It's like when you have things that take priority, and this is something that's like your passion project, it can quickly fall to like the lowest on your priority list. And for me personally, I'm an artist and I'm creating art as my day job, so it's really hard to like separate those two things and then not be exhausted. So it's like if you were working construction all day and then you have to go home and keep doing construction, you're going to be exhausted at some point, and you can't do too much of anything, and that's kind of where
Everything in moderation.
exactly. And that's something that I like don't have the luxury to afford myself, because it's like, yeah, we have this comic that we're really excited, and then we have like 10 comics that we're really excited about, we want to produce, and then me being professionally working, I'm exhausted by the end of my workday. So it's like now I have to keep creating that stuff, and I don't want my personal work to suffer from that. So it's something that we're trying to get up from under. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a library of things, and I know you're talking about, Gary, talks about that as well, just creating content kind of like beforehand and then just releasing it at a nice pace, and then that'll leave you more time to create content, and you keep refreshing those like cycles. So that's what we're doing now. We're building a library behind the scenes, and then when we're ready to really push, there's going to be a ton of content consistently. In 2020, that's our goal. So we want people to know that we're out here creating content. Here's our comic. Here's our next piece of work that we're trying to get funded. And we just want to keep churning and then moving forward with our different comics. And we have a whole superhero universe that we haven't even shown anybody, simply because we don't want to make promises that we can't fulfill. So we don't want people to get excited about a book they're never going to see, or they're going to see in 5 years. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our focus is. And then our Kickstarter is just step one in letting people know that here's our content that we're creating. We're creating it at this level of, I'd say, acuity, this level of standard that we have, and then it's only going to get better from here. And we want to add more artists. We want to add more things to the fold as we move forward. So, yeah, just kind of getting the word out there and letting people see our work. We have a whole, you guys are talking about having a bigger library of work on the platform. And by the end of September into October, we're going to have the Uriel and Goose finished, and that should be up on your guys' page as well. So that's one more thing to kind of market and push out there too. So we're looking to create more content.
Nice. It's funny that actually I just wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. Just because, so like obviously Greg is the one that does the creation of our actual universe or comic and all that. I put my insights into it, but I run the business side part of it, and it's just funny because you were talking about something, and I immediately came up with another business idea, and I was like, but yeah, actually, what I'm gonna have to do is run the numbers and figure out where like the tipping point of validity is. But what I might try to do is put together a system where I can figure out what's the cheapest I could make something for creators, so that, like, not being funny, like be like $10 a month sign up, something like that, and it would be like, you send us one large piece of content, like podcasts like this, and I'll have a team that just dismantles it and creates massive amounts of content.
That would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, but I got to figure out like what the tipping point of how many people I would need to be giving me content, and so how much money I would need to make essentially,
right?
Or how many people I could get. Because even if I did it like on Fiverr, like individually, like I know that no person could. It would cost too much for an individual to do that consistently on Fiverr. But if I was to get like a team of a certain number of people and be like, hey, if I'm consistently getting you this number of people, can we drop the overall price? And because of that, you'll still be getting paid more because I'll have more people. But I'll have to like run through those numbers and see if I can do that, because that would be incredible if we could offer that service for all creators, where it's like, even if it's $20, like I just figure out a number a month, but whatever it is, something that's not hugely significant but is guaranteed to help create massive amounts of content for each creator.
Well, if you're able to create maybe a course or something like that, teaching people how to train, like basically training someone on how to train people to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like there's a let's just put it this way. I have a circle of people that I would trust with certain tasks and delegating, and they could probably help me create content. But there's nothing. I don't have time to like teach them how to do that, how to recognize what to do, when to do it, how to be deadline oriented and things like that. Because it's basically like teaching somebody how to be entrepreneurial in their mindset, you know? So, and that's a little more difficult. But if you could put together maybe like a course and then have like I'd pay for the course and I'd be like, here, take this course. And then by the end of that course, you'll know how we can work together. And then I can give you projects and I can pay you to do these projects for me or help with these projects. So that's something that I'm, super interested in. I just don't have the time to teach people how to do it. So.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like first off, I love teaching people stuff, but like that's the thing is like I have all the knowledge to do it. It's more like the time it takes to do it, which is why I couldn't do it. Like I could barely do it for myself, which I'm still struggling with while still trying to work with all my other clients and things like that. So it's something where if I could get a system of that together, even if it's just to teach your like someone's team already, because like Gary has a pretty good thing. It's called the content model breakdown, but it's just slideshows where it doesn't walk through, like he tells you what to do, but it doesn't like show you how to do it. Right. So yeah, if I could get something together like that, that'd be pretty good long form content I could then break apart and use it as an example.
I can't hear you, Greg.
We actually want to do courses on our website too. So.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to have like not just for that, that'd be one of them, but like we want to eventually have it. I think we were talking to you about it before about having someone like teach drawing and writing and coloring and lettering and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping, and I've just been kind of trying to figure it out, but I'm hoping I could take some time off, maybe like even like a month or two, because I've been putting together I've been accumulating all the knowledge and things like that, all the components for a course. I just can't find the time to like work it out, like, you know what I mean, to put it all together in you know its entirety, create all the assets I would need, like, you know, the little templates and stuff, and then, you know, recording the video to go along with it, and then you know, attaching different PDFs and stuff like that. So it's you know, building the course is work in its own. So I was telling Chris, I was like, if I can get, you know, 2 months off, you know, where I can have those 2 months like covered in terms of like, you know, my monthly expenses, I could create this course and we can push it out, you know, and that could be another piece of content for us.
Ooh, actually, for that specifically for courses, because that's something I wanted to do for a while, but my big thing is I don't like to create courses for something that I haven't been massively successful in. So like, you know, like in a couple of years, there's tons of stuff I'd love to teach, but until I, you know, prove it, like I don't like to do it. So like for example, like walking through this Kickstarter, like I knew all the information. I gave it to Greg. I'm like, as long as you do this, I promise you it'll work, right? So like, we finally do it and it finally works, right? So it's like I know it works, but I want to get a couple of those in before I'm willing to justify teaching them. But speaking about like you creating a course, I wouldn't even mind helping you get that set up and then doing a couple different things. Like one, we could put it on our site for people who have signed up so that we have their email captured, and anyone who like obviously watches those, we would know who's like looking at them, so then we could point them towards you. But then the other thing I'd be willing to help with is potentially getting that on stuff like Udemy, so you can actually potentially make money for it. So either they're signed up with us and they get it for free, or if someone just finds it online, then they could go through Udemy. And then
one of our goals was to get it on Udemy, Teachable, all the different teaching websites, have it on our website, all the different, you know, all the different platforms we possibly can, because that's obviously a way to, and people don't realize this either, is like, if you have a skill that you really are good at, and you can figure out a way to come up with a course to teach other people, that's a way for you to create residual income moving forward in your life, you know. And if you can find a way to compile the time and the effort in putting it together, it can definitely be something that's worthwhile for you, just to, you know, put that out there, teach other people how to do it. You know, knowledge is extremely valuable, and I think people just kind of underestimate how valuable it really is. Like, I've bought like 4 courses on Udemy, and you know they're super cheap for the value that I'm getting back. For the value
I have a problem.
Yeah, it's for the value I'm getting back for you know the amount of money I'm spending. It's
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
There was a course on there I bought for $10 that's how I learned to become a WordPress developer. And from that course alone, I have now made probably about $15,000 for $10, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's crazy, right? Like that's from a combination of doing consulting with the knowledge, creating several websites. Like that's from a $10 course. Like I'm subscribed to that guy's newsletter now. I don't even care if I open them up. Like, in fact, I got I actually almost missed it. He sent an email out that was like, "Hey, I'm just making sure you're still a reader. If not, I'm going to remove you from the list." I'm like, "Oh, thank God I saw it. Like, don't leave." It's like I need to thank you someday because that was incredible, right? And people don't realize it's like, as you learn, like you forget how far you've come because it now looks simple. But because of that, you're like, oh, nobody wants to just know this. They want to know how to become, you know, the Bill Gates. Like they want the top of the top. It's like people can't get to that level until they've gotten to your level. So even your level is enough that it's worth someone's time, or worth someone's money to spend the time. Right?
And $12, like. I mean, you can literally gain like the same kind of knowledge compacted that you would in a college course that costs $1,200, you know, $1,500, $2,000, just depending on where you're going. Even a community college, you know, you're looking at spending $400, $500 plus your textbooks, plus getting there, you know. So it's like having these kinds of resources is incredibly advantageous to anybody who actually goes there and buys the course and then sticks it out through the entire course.
Yeah, that WordPress course I took was 28 and a half hours long. And if you calculate out how long each class in a semester would be, that's one college course for an entire semester.
Right.
Like that's crazy. Like and I paid $10 for it. And not only that, he's somebody who has made money doing the thing he's teaching, not some teacher who,
it's direct. Yes, it's direct.
Yeah. He's like, hey, this is a thing I messed up one time. Now you know it, right? Like, as opposed to this is how it's supposed to work. And then you try to do it and it doesn't because they're a teacher or a professor and not an actual practitioner.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Oh, wait, is that for him? Or is that for us? Oh yeah. So when you run the crowdfunding, you were looking, or the Kickstarter. I'm reading it off the list. The Kickstarter you're looking to run in January. What was it for? That was for the comic. That was for the Ariel and Goose, right? So what if let's say you meet the goal that gets you to pay for everything and get it all printed out? Do you have any like stretch goals, like extra things that you would do? Like say you got twice what you were looking for.
We have something in the works called the NLCU Legends series, and we also have another follow-up comic to Uriel and Goose called Journey Through Time. So both of those are stretch goals to get funded. And the NLCU Legends, we really it's funny because our comic Journey Through Time, it's a shorter series. It ends. It's 12 issues, but that's it. Like it's just a single run, 12-issue comic. But those characters do play a role in our universe. So you'll see some of these characters throughout the universe. So it's kind of the first comic we're releasing from our superhero universe, even though they're not superheroes. So it just kind of helps set up another area of our superhero universe that's more of a Doctor Strangey kind of like magic oriented. We don't use magic in our series, but
we don't use that word.
No, but we have like a different kind of realm, a magical realm. Let's just put it that way. And that kind of Journey Through Time kind of helps set that up. And then NLCU Legends will pick different characters from our universe, and they're going to give origin stories and background information towards this world, this universe that we've set up with Journey Through Time. So we're trying to release them around the same time, and just give people short comics, short little brief explanations of this or that, you know, a superhero origin here or there, just to kind of get people interested in, like, you know, our story writing or storytelling and stuff like that. So that's something we're trying to get funded as well. So possibly that would be some stretch goals, or getting either the third issue, because Uriel and Goose, we're releasing 3 issues at a time. We want to get it to 12 issues in total, but we have 3 issues written and edited and storyboarded already right now. So we might just, one of the stretch goals might just be for issue 3.
That's cool. Nice. I just thought of a cool concept for. There's that issue with time travel where like you're always like, oh, you create a bunch of like split universes or whatever.
Yeah.
I just thought of like a cool way to resolve that issue. I was thinking like you picture time's linear, and like the whole point is like if you jump back in time, now there's like a second branch in time. I was thinking like a cool thing that could happen where you almost combine fate with the ability to actually change fate. Say this is destiny and this is how it's supposed to happen, and when you go back, you've now created an alternate destiny. But what it could be is that these two will eventually meet again. They're still supposed to be there, but it's now bent off the normal path. So it's like you can change fate, but only by a little bit. So even if you do something drastic back here, it's only going to change the end game a little bit. But if you do it enough, you could just keep bending it so that it goes away from the eventual end game. I just keep saying it. I was just thinking of that. That'd be a cool way to resolve that, is that you always end up bending back. It always ends up where they merge again to avoid that.
We have this really interesting way around that, because that's something that we, obviously the time travel thing, certain things in comics and just sci-fi has been kind of done to death, right? And when we were approaching the idea of doing something like a Journey Through Time, we were like, how do we avoid that, right? Like, how do we avoid this whole problem area? And the way that we do it is pretty interesting, because it's kind of like, there's a responsibility to not change the timeline, right? And everything that has happened or will happen through this journey is meant to happen in the normal timeline. So basically, they're not changing anything that's in the past, because they were meant to do that in the first place. If you get what I mean.
Yep,
so it's not like they're creating alternate dimensions or all parallel universes, because everything that they're doing was already meant to happen. And basically, they're just kind of learning. It's basically like our time travel story is more about the characters that are time traveling, as opposed to what they're affecting in the past and stuff like that. So the characters will learn things in the past, and then when they come back to the present, it affects how they move forward.
Gotcha. Nice.
We just don't have time travel.
It's a tricky thing, yeah.
We don't have time travel or religion.
Yeah, because both of those complicate things in exactly the same way.
No, yeah, and I think it's funny because I keep going back to the Milky podcast, just because a lot of the things he said I really identified with. I was like, oh, that's something that I would think about or that I would do. And he's a very intelligent guy, and he seems to kind of have a good outlook on how to move forward in just creating your own stuff, and one of the things that he was saying, just kind of again, I just really associated with, and it touches base on that. And it's if you kind of try and fit yourself into this one audience set, by saying I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this, it can kind of limit you in terms of like he was saying, I can see why Marvel does it, or I can see why DC does it, because they have this kind of obligation that they have already, as opposed to when you're an indie, you kind of just have the freedom to kind of do whatever you want, and then let your fan base kind of come to you, and it's going to be more authentic. So for us, we had just guidelines based on our moral beliefs. So that's something that we started, our comic universe with. So that is authentic, but it also does it negates religion, it negates curse words, it negates some pretty any gimmicks or any really grotesque, I don't know what the word. Yeah, just something there's no gore, there's no heavy gore and things like that. And that's just because we feel we don't need that kind of stuff to tell a good story. And it's not because we don't want to we're trying to save the children. You know, it helps. That's a great, that's a great
child save the world.
it's a great byproduct of what we're trying to do, but really we're just trying to like uphold that, you don't need these kinds of things to tell a really good story. Sometimes they help, just depending on what kind of story you want to go with. I'm not, I like the horror genre. I like, when I'm certain kinds of gore and stuff I love The Walking Dead. I love things like that. So it's not about like, not wanting those things in our comic. It's just about like, we want to focus on the story aspect of it, of creating story without having gimmicks. So, yeah, anyway.
You should create the time traveler's manifesto, like what you're supposed to do and not do.
We'll get into that. There's only like in our universe, there is only one character who can time travel, and there is a lot of responsibility.
That's actually a good way to do that, to make it so that it was supposed to happen if only one person's able to do it, and it's because they were meant to make it happen.
Well, we have like
Exactly. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, Greg. Another thing to add to this, and I don't want my writer to be like mad that I'm kind of spilling the beans here, but another way to kind of look at it is time travel spidey sense. So this dude, this character already has, like, when he's living his normal life, he has a sense before he knows he's supposed to do something. So basically it's like temporal spidey sense.
Nice.
Yes.
Hashtag.
Hashtag Sony.
Yeah.
It's trademark Ricky Bobby Express. Like, trademarking that right now.
Shake and bake.
Why do you say that? Is it epilepsy?
We don't have religion just because I don't really know why, actually. It's just I never really felt like including it in any of my stories.
Yeah, I think it wasn't included in any of the stories. Then we decided, you know what, to avoid that being a potential plot hole that could happen in the future, let's make it so that we know it's not available. Because, like, there's some places where, not being funny, you go like supernatural, right? Like, it's got like demons and werewolves, and then all of a sudden there's angels and devils that can then make a bunch of other stuff change completely. Like, that's a great show, but like, to avoid the possibility, like, one of the things, like, we have people that die and they don't come back. Like, that's the point of it. So it's like, to avoid there being a way for it, let's just remove that option entirely.
Right.
So there's no.
I definitely can't hear you again.
You gotta talk at it. That's fine. You're like, you're talking
weird.
there.
So for the map, I actually told him, so there's no religion, so you can take out every church. And in my city, there's a lot of churches. So he's like, wow, that's going to make it a little cheaper. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because like the design of those buildings are so complex compared to like a standard building. So it's like wow, okay. Get rid of the church, save the money.
That was one of those tricky things too, though, because it's like in our realistic world, right? Like, even if it's not like one predominant religion, there's tons of religions, there's tons of different, belief systems. So to like cut that out completely, it kind of does take a semblance of realism out of it, which is something that we've like had to deal with. Like, oh, okay, like there's characters that we want to portray in it, like zealots, you know what I mean? Like terrorists. I mean, you can consider them zealots. You can consider them, they have their fundamentalist beliefs, and that's kind of what guides them. So to take out religion kind of takes out those characters.
Kind of, but did you ever watch South Park?
Yeah, not.
That's fine. There's one episode that it talks about how I think Cartman like goes into the future because he's trying to get a Wii, so he freezes himself, and he does it for too long. And when he comes out, religion has been completely annihilated. So now there's the war of the atheists, where they're trying to argue what they should call themselves. And that's it. There's like these three armies that are all fighting each other. They're basically having religious wars over the concept of, should we be the Atheist Alliance Allegiance, or should we be the Alliance of Atheists? I like a bunch of stupid ass names, and they're literally killing each other over it. and because they don't have religion, they don't have the weed for some reason. So these Cartman's all upset. But that's the point. Is like you can still keep the concepts because people hate each other for no reason. That was kind of the joke, was that even if you got, I think it was like people were fighting about religion while he wanted a Wii in the past. Like it didn't matter, but like that was just some little side plot. And then you realize, oh, it doesn't matter. Even if you got rid of religion or race, it doesn't matter. People are going to hate each other for some stupid reason, even if it's what they call each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true, man. Unfortunately. But hey, we're making comics that bring everybody together, right?
Exactly. We're trying to fix that. Yeah, that's our goal, is to fix it by having comics that, kill people and don't come back.
I think too, maybe inadvertently, but the community that we're creating, that's really what it's all about, right? Breaking down the falseness of competition, like, and creating a community that truly works, to everybody's benefit. So I think inadvertently, yeah, maybe we are actually doing that.
One second. Is he trying to start again? All right, yeah, cool. Yeah, the recorder for just the audio does hour long and then it cuts out. So we have had you for an hour. So if you do need to bounce, just let us know. But I think there's just a couple other things.
We have a little bit more time left.
Yeah, I think we talked about that pretty well. And we kind of talked about that very well. Maybe we did cover everything.
More just like marketing on the SeerNova platform, because people don't know how to do that, and we need to.
Oh yeah. Well, even if they're not on our platforms, kind of thing. Yeah, that's something that well, one of the things that we've noticed is that we've got, like, is it 20 or 40 creators? How many creators do we have? Not comics, just creators. 40. Yeah, we probably have about 40 creators on the platform, and there's probably like 4 of them that promote themselves that they're on the platform, and some of them like that's like the only platform they're on is ours. So it's like they, and then they're like they might wonder why no one's viewing their stuff, and it's like, we have 40 people to promote and ourselves, right? So it's like we can only do so much, and at the moment, until we get to a certain funding level, we can't be just paying for ads all the time. In the future, it'll be great, but even if we do, if you don't self-promote, we're going to be focusing on the ones that do the best anyways, because it'll help draw more people in. So we're still going to like ignore everyone else, but basically, if you don't work on yourself, we can't help you any. Like, we can only get you to a certain level, right?
No, absolutely, and yeah, that's something that we're, as soon as issue 1 is finished, again, and on your guys' platform, we're going to be pushing that thing like it's like it's going bad. Yeah, exactly. My cats are destroying something. I don't know what they're doing, but.
As long as it's not the comic, right?
No, that's all on my computer. It's all good.
Where's the computer now? He's over there looking up stuff. Catnip.
Yeah, I just uploaded a new comic, more like manga, called Poor, and this person first, like, I messaged them forever ago on Instagram. It's like, oh, do you want your comic on our website? They're like, oh, okay, that's like, they did. Well, first they didn't say anything, so they saw it. They saw a message forever ago, and then I sent them the Kickstarter link, and then they're like, this looks sick. Oh, I want to be on your website. I was like, oh, okay.
You know what it is? I think some people just need to see something happening so they can like want to jump on it. It's like, if you just approach them and like, hey, here's this great idea, like, you should be a part of it. Like, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay. I've gotten like 4 other messages from people saying something similar. So yeah, but yeah, as soon as they see something in production, it's like now they're on top of it. So
yeah, but it's funny because the people that we first asked to be on our website, a lot of them were like, what's the catch? And I was like, there's no catch.
Right.
We talked to you for like 3 hours one time, and then once we mentioned the map, you're like, in.
I mean, I was definitely, I was at that point in time too. We were looking to do very similar things, So when we first started talking, it was like, okay, like you hit a certain point that we wanted to do this. So like, are we competing? No, we're not competing. Like we have two different kinds of, ways of going about it. And then when you started, talking about long-term plans, I was like, yeah, we got to do this. We got to, like, we have to be a part of this community. So, yeah, I was definitely sold from that first time talking.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is like that's our thing too. What is it, Todd? I forgot his last name, but
Mulrooney.
Mulrooney. There we go. Yeah. Did you see that podcast? I think that was our fifth one. Was that our fifth podcast?
Yeah, he has his own YouTube channel called IndieCom TV, and it's a whole YouTube channel for indie creators. So like you could be on it, and, like you could teach on there actually.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking with him about. Was that like it's like we don't need to compete with each other because he's like just like Ready Comics. At one point, we were talking about being able to do everything for comic book creators, including printing. But then we're like, well, we got Ready Comics. And then I talked to the owner of Ready Comics, and we told him where we were, and he's like, we wanted to do that. So you guys, it's like we don't need to be the Amazon and print and do everything ourselves. But if we build up a network where, like, our goal is to just be the central hub, because then there's one place you can go to find all the other places. And so far, it looks like everyone's been building one part up anyways, and we're the redirect, which I'm fine with. Like, that'd be great. Like, I love being the networker anyways, so it's awesome being able to go, hey, you need help? We know a guy, right? Like, and then they, even if we interlace all of those, it's just great to, meld that community. And then, in the future, when we become huge, maybe we can buy everybody. It would be cool to, like I said, like if they've got videos, we got these guys doing printing. If we can get to a point where it's a one-stop shop, even though we're not the ones doing everything, it's still a great way to, help a creator who has no friggin' idea what they're doing. Like somebody has a really good story in their head, and we can go, hey, we can bring you from not knowing what story you wanted to write to having a printed comic, a brand created, a marketing plan, Kickstarter launch, video channels, all that. Like it'd be great to.
You can basically be like the big brother that we never had, basically, that just like, hey, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna show you everything you need to know from A to Z, not just A to C.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to do the same, like with the teaching stuff. There's a church community center not too far from here, and my stepdaughter goes there for like after school program, and they have the availability, like a room like of all these computers and stuff like that, and I want to do some teaching for kids like from 6th grade on through 12th grade. So I'm definitely looking to set that up and stuff like that, but it's just, again, no time to really put together a course, to come up with all the materials for them to use and things like that. So it's definitely something I want to do though. And
if you end up doing that, by the way, with their permission, obviously, you could potentially record you teaching that and then put that online.
Yeah, that's something that I was thinking about too. But they would have to consent. Everybody would have to consent to it and things like that. So
you don't have to record them. I'm talking about like if you have a camera facing just you, and then a screen recording of whatever you're doing on your computer or your projector or whatever you're doing it on. And then, because then you wouldn't need permission from parents, you would just need permission from the organization to be able to use that recording. But if it's your own content, like the odds of them being against it are very slim. It's just more their property, essentially, like physically on their property. But other than that, like I would be willing to bet they'd let you do that.
The whole purpose of the course that I was like, that I was pitching and that I wanted to get into the direction of was basically comics as a crash course for becoming an illustrator by career. So I want to teach these kids the process of how to do comics, because the process of doing comics is going to teach you how to be an illustrator, because everything that's involved with the process of comics is going to inform how you can work with clients, and you can pitch. I mean, you can market each direction of it. So you can, again, if you're not like, if you're not good with color, you can be a storyboard artist, or you can be do pencils, you can do line work, you can do ink work, and you can still be successful in this career. So there's a few paths where you can walk. And like as a kid, making comics is just this very abstract thing. You don't know what's involved with it. So I want to break down the yeah, and just the mysticism behind this like creation. Like they don't just snap their fingers and it pops up into creation. Everybody has a part, in this pipeline, and I want to teach them how to. I wish, right? How to work within this pipeline, and everybody has a job, and then you can be an expert at this one job, or you can do 3 jobs, or you can, it's really just about how you proceed forward with creating this thing. And then once the thing's created, I want to put it like on webtoons and get these kids recognition, like this is their piece of work, this is the team that they created, and now they're creating comics on their own. Like maybe this team doesn't need direction after this year or 2 of counseling or whatever the case may be, and they're creating their own stuff on their own. And then I could take on another course of students and do the same thing with them. So, and then hopefully in their future, if this is something that they want to do, even if it's on the business side of it, they can do that. They know how to do it pre high school, pre college, so they don't have to spend their money on going to an art college like I did, and I went through 2 years of it, and I was like, this is just obscenely expensive for the value that I've gotten right now. It's just obscenely expensive. So I want to help kids to not take that direction. And even if they are going to take that direction, they're so much more well-informed.
Be aware of what direction they're taking. Yeah.
Exactly. And, when I was in art school, I seen kids that really have never really picked up a pencil before, and they're in art college and they want to pursue this, but they just never had somebody that's like, oh, you're interested in this? Let me teach you and guide you about how to actually make this work for you. Like, I never got figure drawing as a kid in school at all, in high school, anything like that. There was no still life drawing, portrait drawing, anything like that. And if I would have done that in an earlier stage, I think I would be just so much better as an artist in general. And, so many kids that are trying to develop their art skills, like they like to draw, they like to scribble and sketch and all this kind of stuff, but they just don't have the proper teaching, at that point, at that stage in their life. So if I could, weasel my way in there and teach them how to do this stuff, maybe I can make them better, long term. So that's one of my goals, is to really create a course that's going to teach kids how to become professional illustrators, not just comic book creators.
So 2 things on that. The first thing I would say is, if you're looking to make a course, then I would start off by literally like once a month, write one part of the syllabus. Like if you were going to say, if it was going to be a summer course, for example, so it'd be 4 months, spend like, October, or like September, it's kind of still just started, but like spend September just putting down the bullet points of the broad thing you would talk about for a month. Then the next month, do the bullet points for the next month. And then what you do is, once you've gone through all 3 or 4 months or whatever the teaching is, start filling in the bullet points, but do it over a month time. And then you can, like, it's one of those things where people are like, oh, I don't have any time. And it's like, you got 5 minutes, you could write bullets down, right? So that's how you got to do it, is spend the 5 minutes to break down, like, oh, it's going to be 4 months, and these are the 4 major things I want to talk about. Then the next time, you get 5 minutes. Just write down the bullet points for the first one, that kind of thing. And then the other one I was going to suggest was, do you know who Russell Brunson is? Yeah, Brunson.
Russell Brunson?
The doc. What? Oh no, that's Branson. That's Branson. This one's Brunson. Yes, and that's Richard Branson. Yeah, this one's Russell Brunson. Both very rich though, so it's a close enough. But this one is, do you know what ClickFunnels are?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the creator of it.
Oh, that makes sense. All right.
So he wrote 2 books. One of them is the .com secrets, and that basically physically tells you how to create your own ClickFunnels, but it doesn't tell you like how to do the programming. It's just like, these are the steps.
Right.
Remember the Seinfeld emails, like the emails about nothing, but they lead to something, and that's why it's good. Stuff like that. But then he wrote a second book, and it's the same thing. If you Google it, you can find it where it's free and you pay $7 shipping. Then you put it in your funnel, ironically, So, but
right.
It's, I've heard this. I haven't gotten to it yet because I don't plan on doing it. But if you're I don't plan on doing it soon enough to read it. But if you're planning on teaching this,
okay.
So expert secrets, and the whole point of this book is how to figure out how to take your knowledge and put it in a consumable format.
Right.
And so that's like the whole point of this book. And so yeah, you can probably get it on audio book as well if you have like Audible. But if you're going to be looking at how to teach like that, like basically you read this, you figure out how to question yourself to figure out, oh, like what is the thing I do know, right? Like how do I figure out how to make it so someone else can consume it? And
Right.
then, you know, you, like I said, literally just like, but don't let this hold you back. Like, don't be like, oh, I haven't read this book yet, so I don't want to do it. But like, I was saying a minute ago, like writing down bullet points, like that shit's, you know, that's how I get most of my stuff down. I'm like, eventually I got to do this. Eventually I got to do this.
If I could, I literally even have, like you said, bullet points of how I would break everything down. It's just like, actually, again, like making it consumable for a younger audience. That's something I'm thinking about. Like, okay, how do I, like, this seems simple enough, but how do I break it down even more simpler? And then like, what examples am I giving them? Am I giving them like little homework? Like in this classroom, how would I even set up my material? Like that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's really, I'm in like step 2, let's just put it that way. And then like step 3 is like this obstacle of actually tangibly doing the stuff and getting the permission from the owner of the after school program and stuff, which we've already spoken. He seems pretty cool about it, but he just wants to see like how this course would play out, you know? So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, but it's in the works and hopefully I can get it done. And, you know, at least twice a month, I'll be teaching some kids how to be professional illustrators. So that's something that's a very long-term goal of mine. I've wanted to do for a while. But yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely pick up that book though, because I think it would just help me stay on track of like keeping that kind of stuff in mind, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and actually, wait, there'd be one other one. I just thought about it.
Every time we have a conversation, you give me like 5 different books you want me to read. Just send them. Just send them to me.
We'll link it in the description. Now I just need to get affiliate links. That's all. But this
made to stick.
Yeah, so the point of this book, so the other one is like how to figure out what it is that you know so you can teach somebody. The point of this book, like every teacher in the world, but specifically at least the US, should be required to read this book. The entire book is how to get over what's called the curse of knowledge. You know what cognitive biases are?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like when, like if I
already, information.
Yeah, like if I already think that thing over there is red, I'll figure out how to prove it's red. That's confirmation bias. Or if I think the world's always coming after to get me, I'll just find out ways that the world's coming after to get me. That's negativity bias, right? Then there's like, what is it? The backfire effect. If I already believe something, you tell me I'm wrong, I'm going to double down on that belief and tell you, F off, right?
Politics.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the whole point, is that there's a ton of cognitive biases. One of them is the curse of knowledge. And it's once you learn something, you can never remember what it's like to not know it. And so you can't, like, that's why, like, once you become really good at, say, math, and then you got to teach somebody, that's why teaching in itself is a skill, because you need to figure out what you learned and how to teach it to someone who has never acquired the knowledge to learn it. And like that's a very, very different. That's why there's terrible professors and teachers out there.
Absolutely.
They're like, why don't you understand this? Unaware of their own bias, that they already know something they don't know, right? And so like it breaks it down. What is it? Yeah, it's called the success principle, and it's simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotional, and telling stories. And the whole point of that too is just like how can you take what you know and reformat it into a way that has a greater chance to stick. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the things that like when I talked to the director over there, he was kind of like, well, what would be the purpose of this? And I was just like, to teach people things. I didn't think about like, okay, the absorption of that knowledge. Now, what are these kids going to use it for? And I just kind of thought that was an assumed, and it kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, I'm teaching them how to make comics. And he was like, well, what's the business model like for comics? And I was like, well, I can't really say like, this is something that's going to be extremely useful. Like say teaching somebody how to code, like there's tons of jobs out there, and the income is just, if you find the right place to find these jobs, it's incredible. So I can't tell them that's what this is gonna, end up being. But for me personally, there's a huge, when we're talking about school and teaching, there's a huge like bias when it comes to, is art a profitable thing for you to do?
Yeah, technology versus creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that, a lot of people, or we should be teaching our kids how to be logical and mathematical and things like that, and very concrete, realistic ways. But also, if we're going to do that and kind of squash their creativity, then we're just creating robots. And there needs to be more avenues, especially here in Chicago. We have a lot of public schools that are shutting down creative programs. So you don't have music, you don't have art classes in public schools. And a lot of these kids, that's their only exposure. Like, I grew up in a family that didn't have any artists, didn't have any musicians, didn't have anybody that was doing anything creative. So the chances that I would be a creative are a lot lower,
Yeah.
And in my schools, they were shutting down programs, so I live in an area, or grew up in an area where that's a prevalent problem. So if I can find a way to kind of like taper that off and give kids an outlet, and I think that hopefully we start a trend, hopefully we start I can take this course once it's completed, and I can have some other people teach across Chicago. But that's kind of one of those things that's like back burner, lofty future goals, for New Leaf Studios to be to have a teaching aspect of it as well. That's more of a charity base. That's more of just trying to reach out to people and give back to our community and in various ways. So, but yeah, hopefully we can formulate that and it can all come together really nicely.
Yeah, and that honestly, that would be a great idea. Even if it's like a nonprofit where like the only funding is just enough to pay for like stuff like travel and resources.
Right.
But if it's minimum based, that's just the main goal. And the funny thing too is like it's both benevolent in all of the stuff that it does, while also having the side effect of getting the name New Leaf seen. You know what I mean? It'd be like if Disney did any charity, stuff like that. I'm sure they do. I don't hear about it.
It's definitely a benefit to us to be have our name on more people's lips. Let's just put it that way, right? But like our goal is definitely to really just empower these kids to see a future in this creative outlet and more, and to be writers and stuff like that. Like a huge part of the course is going to be writing from concept to final draft. So there's a huge portion of that's going to be just making a story, so I'm looking at my writer and I'm like, hey, dilute some of the stuff that you do, because I work when I write, I work a lot differently than he does, so there's a lot of different ways to get from point A to point B when it comes to a creative process. So we're just trying to refine those things, and show people there's a way to be a professional writer, there's a way to be a professional artist, there's a way to be a freaking professional marketer, like there's a way to do those things, and it's usually off the beaten path, but it's there, the path is there, the trail is there, you just got to have the right knowledge set. And I think making kids, and especially in this economy and the way that the future is trending, our economy is trending forward, manufacturing jobs are going to be gone, in a few years. Labor jobs are going to be tapering off to, a technology. So we need to get these kids in more of an entrepreneurial mindset. We need to get them into more of an independent mindset, into, looking forward as opposed to just what's in front of them. Yes, absolutely, man. So
yeah, 'cause that's the thing is like in the future, the only jobs that'll be available will be creative ones, because unless we get pure AI, like, what you see in sci-fi, and even in those where it's like the ideal situation, they still lack creativity, which is why they always lose, right? Like they're semi-creative, but they can't connect all the dots like, a human can. It's like, that's the whole point of that. Even when it comes to artwork, like that, like stuff that I do in art translates to how I think in business. So it's like, and I'm not like a huge artist, but like that's a big concept. I think I mentioned that in a previous podcast. There's like some book out there called like "There's No Such Thing as a Starving Artist," because a true artist is creative enough to never have to have that be an issue. They should be able to figure it out, right? Like yeah.
And I think like when it comes to me, I feel like it was part luck and part working myself to a point where it's like, this is my normal, like, and I think there's a huge amount of people that underestimate their capabilities, so like, to give an example, I was working a full-time job, and we worked typically about 4 days, but it was 12-hour shifts. So I would get off my 12-hour shift job, I would go pick up my stepdaughter, I would cook dinner, and then I would work on art. So I was working 18 hours a day, and then sleeping and repeating the process. And yeah, it sucked. It wasn't great at all. But it was just like, you have to understand that, like, there's no comfort level that's guaranteed to you. And when you start getting too comfortable, you need to change things, you need to keep progressing forward. And again, especially kids, because I have 2 teenagers right now in my house, and they're very comfortable, and they want to be comfortable like all the time. They want to be entertained and comfortable all the time.
That's the future disease, comfortability. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, it's horrible. And the thing is that they have so much information and technology that's at their hands that's beneficial. That's something that could be used to their benefit. It's just the way that they've been trained to see it is not that way. The way they're trained to see it is entertainment. The way they're trained to see it is comfort.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm trying to fight against that a little bit, but it's also like, that's kind of part of my business, right? Like, we were just talking about it, like, or you were talking about escapism with the Milky comic. And it's like, that is part of our business, but it's also, teaching kids how to mix the two things, how to moderate those things. Like, you like this thing you're consuming. Why don't you be a part of that thing you're consuming? Why don't you create something that has to do with that? Or why don't you do your own
Don't be an alcoholic, be a distiller.
But and it's a way to just prepare them for, for again, the future, where it's like, yeah, we don't need to worry about survival in a sense of, the way that we live in our American, standard of living, but we also can't be complacent and teach our kids that, you go work a normal job and come home and do nothing. Like, you have to keep churning those wheels. You have to keep moving forward and reading and consuming things that are going to make you better. But I don't know how we tangent into this section, but I think it was great.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's actually probably we've had you for quite a while. We don't want to hold you up, and that's probably a good little rant to end.
Yes, I can do that. I tend to rant a little bit.
I was helping that tangent along. I can't go like that. Yeah, but yeah, no, I figured. Yeah, I think that's we're up to about an hour and a half, so that it's like I only got a little bit of time. I'm free. It's like 3 hours.
Yeah, she said that about this one podcast we had. We're like, okay, I can only do it for a half hour. It was the longest podcast we've done.
Yeah, well, I think, especially with this podcast, it's just a great way to like I don't have these interactions with other people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have this where we can talk about these kinds of things, professional kinds of things, indie comics, how we're progressing, what are our plans for the future. We really don't have these kinds of interactions. So it's great that, we can put this stuff out there and then help other people in the community realize, like, this is a beneficial thing to do. Just maybe help you guys get more guests, just to talk out some different things and, get our voices out there.
Yeah, and let other people know, like, oh, there are other people that think like I do.
Absolutely,
I'm not crazy.
Well, you might be. But, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for having me on again, man. It's fun, and we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah. Oh, and where you want people to, what's your shout out? Where you want people to go to find you?
I'd say Facebook or Instagram is probably our 2 best places to go as of right now. Our website, we're going to be. So our Facebook is just New Leaf Comics on Facebook. Nothing special there. And then New Leaf _comics on Instagram. So you guys can find us there. I'm sorry, newleaf.comics, not underscore. My bad. Newleaf.comics on Instagram. Our website is newleafcomics.com. We're going to be changing our names pretty soon, so we might change things there. We might end up changing handles or whatever the case may be, but we'll let everybody know when that does happen. But we're going to be changing our name to Studios because we're, like I said, entering into the design, game design stuff. So we kind of want to have a more broad spectrum of what we're doing, not just comics.
Nice. Well, we'll keep you on for just a second longer, but we'll end the podcast here. So thanks for joining us.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.